right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It's a beautiful summer day in Milwaukee. It finally hit above 75. It's probably the longest spring I've had in a long time. But I thought we'd start with a little Kenny Chesney this morning because Kenny's doing a little, residency at the Sphere and kind of get your mindset into summer. So here we go. What do we got going today? Your rate of learning has to outpace the rate of change. Your rate of learning has to outpace the rate of change. We'll have a few organizational updates for the group. I need your help in mitigating your risk, and I feel like I've been a broken record about this for years, but we'll talk about that. And I'll finish with, I guess we have another big announcement to make today. And then I'll finish with a few strategic updates, and then I want to challenge you with 76%. And we'll talk about that at the end in a way that's different than you might think. So stay tuned. So vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. At the end of the day, everything we do from a leadership perspective or a leadership team is how do we be the company of choice? Like I always say, agents vote with their own 2 feet. You're either attracting talent or you're losing talent. And from a vision standpoint, one of the things that we like to use as a parallel is hospitality and how there's a difference between the Ritz-Carlton and the Holiday Inn. There's a difference between Carnivore and George Webb. And yet they all serve very similar functions. And so how do you become a company or an organization of choice? Because similarly, your clients vote with their own 2 feet or they vote with their dollars. They either choose you or they choose somebody else. So that was good level set perspective as it relates to how we correlated to our vision statement. But I kind of led with this. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately is the rate of change in our business, in our lives. It was funny, last week I was on a coaching call with my coach, and I was asking him a bunch of complex problems I was trying to be introspective about and thinking through. And he was like, have you asked an AI prompt? And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, here's the problem, Charlie. You need to think about the way in which that you make decisions moving forward, because these prompts can get you 80% of the way there. He goes, functionary decisions are becoming commoditized by these platforms, and you have to learn how to make decisions faster, and your sense of urgency needs to be at 1,000. The premium in our business, and this is what he was kind of challenging me to, the premium in our business will be the soft skills. And how do you continuously develop your soft skills, but you create a sense of urgency in making decisions faster by utilizing the rate of change in which our businesses and our lives are changing? And I thought about that this week, and I said, it reminds me to a challenge that someone sent to me maybe a year or so ago, and it was to have a sustainable impact as a leader, your rate of learning has to be greater than or equal to the rate of change. It's not our abilities to show how good of a leader we are, it's our decisions. And so how does that show up within your lives? How does it show up within your business? Because the rate of change is effectively like a hockey stick right now. And your rate of learning has to outpace change. And you need to be thinking about functionary decisions and how do you impact that at a rate of change faster, right? And how are you not commoditizing your soft skills and placing a premium on your soft skills and investing in your EQ? Something to think about and a little bit of a foreshadow. So moving into a little bit of an organizational update, wanted to give, you might have seen some noise or announcement on Friday, and I'll explain that here in a second, but it helps you understand what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. And if I'm hiring a coach, I'm hiring a culture builder. Every coach knows the game, but can they connect, communicate a clear vision, recruit, develop people well, multiply their leadership? They can climb, but can they get others up the mountain? Culture is a competitive advantage. So very quietly in the background, we've been, for all intents and purposes, dragged south. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation. I meant that if I was being honest, it wasn't on my radar 6 months ago if you were to have asked me at the end of the year. And yet all of a sudden there was a little bit of momentum, and we were able to capture some momentum that then forced us to think about organic growth in terms of geographically based, how we're attracting talent. And when talent is literally calling you and saying, will you open, will you open, will you open? We strategically as a team have to say, can we do it? Can we support them? And what would this look like within how we operate our business? So I share with you something as it relates to how we view our locations in southeastern Wisconsin specifically, and how they're strategically located within major geographical areas to serve the city. For example, some of our peers have 20 to 30 plus locations in southeastern Wisconsin. And if you've noticed, we call our offices market centers, not offices, because we want them to be the hubs. The agents, their clients, their businesses are the spokes. And effectively late last fall, early into this year, we had this gravitational pull to go south, to go south, to go south. And I'm always hesitant to want to do more, which sounds counterintuitive, but I know our capacity levels as a team, and I don't want to outstretch our resources in order to grow just for growth's sake. But one of the things that we've done, and recently I looked at it and I'm going to back up for a second. In December of 2023, we had 18 people on our leadership team. In December of 2023. Today, in May of 25, we have 32 people on our leadership team. So what the reason for me sharing that with you is for me to say, like, we're reinvesting our resources in a big way, because I believe in, as I led with hospitality, believe in service, touch, removing obstacles for you guys to be successful. And because of that, it has forced us to think about where we serve and who we serve and the team that we have to serve it, which is effectively why we've nearly doubled our team in the last 18 months. So on Friday, it wasn't, I would say, the way we would desire to make an announcement, because we announced it to the world before we announced it to you, which is a little bit backwards, but there were some strategic pressures and competitive pressures as to how we had to accelerate some of our announcement. But we opened an office in Racine, and I'll foreshadow something else. By the end of June, we'll have 100 million in production in Racine. Again, we didn't seek it, it sought us. And I think that's also a testament to what our teams are doing and how we're serving you. So KW Southshore is now open. Don't get too excited. It's not anything big. We're still working through the infrastructure. For example, we don't have a printer and scanner down there yet. We're working on getting that. I got a phone call from someone last week that was like, I heard you took space in Racine. I want to do my closings there. I'm like, hey, we don't even have internet yet. Like, the cat was kind of out of the bag, and it kind of forced us to kind of move forward in this way. But similarly to what we want is, over the last several years, hopefully you've seen a strategy of, we don't want you to feel as if you are associated to one location or one specific office. We want you to feel associated to an ecosystem of resources, and those ecosystems of resources are where you do your business. And we were already doing a significant amount of business in Racine. We just didn't have a physical location there. And then when you attract $100 million in production, you say, okay, now we got to open an office and put resources to help these people grow. So more news to come. You'll see an announcement that I'll send out likely tomorrow around just location, if you're in and around the area, what you might need in order to utilize the spaces. But wanted you guys to hear it directly from us. Cool. Sweet. All right. With that, I'm flipping it over to Lieutenant Steph. Lieutenant, we have to help these guys understand how to mitigate their risk as it relates to wire fraud, as it relates to mail fraud, and the inefficiency of the old systems of paper checks. So what do these guys needs to know as a great reminder in the utilization of trust funds?
Yeah, it feels like mail is like a fax machine now, right? So we are encouraging, we really, really, really need you guys to use trust funds when you are submitting earnest money. And our message is really aimed at listing agents. So when you guys are taking your listings and when you are receiving offers, please make sure that we are communicating to the buyer's agent that we want our earnest money to be submitted via trust funds. So you can communicate this through your private remarks, in your contract to close communication. Please just make sure that we are communicating. Please, buyer's agents, have your buyers submit earnest money through trust funds. And then the likelihood that a buyer's agent will be bringing an offer from KW. Buyer's agents, please make sure that you are submitting earnest money via trust funds. Excuse me, I feel like a broken record, as Charlie said before.
Real quick,
Yes, sir.
Steph, just to interrupt. It may seem like a broken record, but do you want to put the over under as to the percentage of our overall listings that utilize trust funds?
Is that out to the crowd? Because I know it.
Right around 50%. Okay. The challenge in that is this: we all worry about wire fraud, but mail fraud, in the incidence of mail fraud, is just as substantial. It's not hard for someone to look through the mail, notice a routing number, an account number, and then all of a sudden, poof, funds are being transferred in other places. And so the reason why we're pressing these things is twofold. One is to mitigate your risk, but the other piece of it is you might have excess earnest money that needs to get released at a moment's notice, and you're in Brookfield and you're on the other side of town and we're trying to get you. It's immediate with trust funds. And so there is a pace and speed of pace of use in terms of why trust funds is so important. Steph, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. So then I'm just going to remind you guys on how to use it. And then I'll also preface this by saying that we have loaded these instructions into our miscellaneous folder on our KW Realty MKE.com in our miscellaneous folder resources, excuse me, so that this can be quickly shared out to a co-broke agent who may be fumbling through using trust funds. So it's really, really easy, and we want to, share with the co-broke how we can do it. So anyway, from MLS, you're going to go to that trust funds link. You're going to be brought to a new window. So you'll initiate the trust funds in a brand new window. It'll be a pop-up. Then next slide, Charlie. You'll add in the information. So you're going to certify that the buyer has a fully executed purchase agreement. You're going to indicate where the buyer agent is coming from, whether it's yourself or a teammate, another agent, or if the buyer is not represented. You're going to put the buyer's agent email in, and then the buyer agent's information. And then you're going to indicate that the earnest money is to be held by the listing broker. So you'll put Keller Williams, Milwaukee North Shore. Obviously, if it's a co-broke listing, you'll be indicating another office, and that will be auto-filled. Then it'll bring you to the next screen. You'll put in the buyer's information here. So you'll put the buyer's name, the email address, the amount of the earnest money, and then you need to create a secret word that is being communicated to the buyer so that if they want to, they can verify it back to you. Then from there, you're going to notify the buyer. The buyer will pay an $8 convenience fee. But then from there, it's communicated out to the buyer, listing agent, and the buyer's agent that the earnest money trust funds has been initiated. And then you will get communication from there indicating that it has been submitted. And then this leads me to our next communication that it has settled as well. So moving now into the settled receipt. This is for command and opportunity submission. We need to have the version of the earnest money receipt that shows that the earnest money has settled. So in order to obtain this, now you're going to go back to MLS, you're going to go back to trust funds. Then you are going to click on the X there because this is the automatic pop-up when you do click on that trust funds link. So X out of that. And then you're brought to this screen. You can go to transactions now. And then you're going to see a history of the earnest money submission that you have been a part of. So from there, you're going to go find the earnest money that you need, view history, and it'll show the steps from submitted to settled. So it's that settled receipt that we need when we are reviewing files. We don't want the submitted version, we need the settled version. So from there, you're just going to hit the Save PDF button, create a PDF, load that into the placeholder in Command. All right, does everyone have that down? Again, it's in KW Realty MKE in the miscellaneous folder. Again, we want you to quickly share this information out to co-brokes if they need it and they need help with trust funds. So thank you guys for helping us. And then just to end here, we've got our contract training. So yesterday we had Google Business Basics with Willis. It was an excellent training that is now uploaded onto YouTube. Please check it out. June 16th, June 23rd, and June 30th, we have more special guests. Commission and Command with Leah from Closing Time. June 23rd, Macy from Falk Rubin is going to help us go through the steps of launching a listing. And then Andrew and Nicole Keel from KW Prestige is going to help us with contract to close. So Joan and I are super excited about having these guests in. These guys know the lay of the land with these topics, and it's going to be great. So again, Mondays, 12 p.m. Zoom, and you can access that Zoom link through the training calendar.
All right, do me a favor. Ready? On 3, repeat after me. 1, 2, 3. Trust funds. Trust funds. Trust your funds with trust funds. Got it? Again, you laugh, but like, we're trying to lower your risk, lower the incidence of fraud. There's a very simple solution to do so. And sometimes, even though we've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years, like I want to get us to 80+%. And we would all be better off for it. And again, your rate of learning has to be greater than the rate of change. Cool.
Can I add one more comment?
Yes.
Just as like a strategy too for deadline submission on your offer to purchase, you can indicate that earnest money can be submitted within a day if you wanted to on your offer to purchase versus 3 days, 4 days, or 5 days. You know, that's another competitive offer writing strategy that you can employ. So use trust funds to your advantage too.
Beautiful.
What's the culture?
Trust funds. Trust your funds with trust funds. All right, with that, I'm flipping it over to Vranik, who's got an exciting marketing announcement.
All right, good morning, everybody. So many of you have probably heard the news if you're on social media following Keller Williams Realty. Everyone received an email yesterday, but really exciting news because Keller Williams has officially partnered with Canva. Yay! Yes. So they actually announced this a few weeks ago when some of us were down in Dallas, Texas. But one really exciting thing, at least for us in our market and our marketing team, is that they are putting a really big emphasis on marketing. And they've clearly done that and proven that with their partnership with Canva. So they did release a video yesterday with a little bit more information, and then we'll dive into the details as well.
Keller Williams and Canva. We're bringing together the best in real estate and design. At Keller Williams, we believe real estate agents should work with best-in-class technology. Together with Canva, we're reimagining real estate marketing.
Our flagship enterprise relationship with Keller Williams brings you the world's best tools to make design and marketing effortless.
Premium KW branded graphics make creating high-impact content faster and easier than ever.
This is not just about templates. We're building a bespoke experience for Keller Williams that gives their market centers and agents way more creativity.
With Canva's design-driven platform, the power of KW Command, and the insight of KW agents, we're providing cutting-edge technology built by agents for agents.
We're building an intuitive Keller Williams experience, making it easier than ever for agents to create beautiful, effective content without switching platforms or missing a beat.
We know design isn't just about how things look, it's about how they work.
With Canva, you're in control of your brand. So whether it's a reel, whether it's a postcard or a listing video, every agent now has the power to stand out with confidence.
We're inspired to work with a company that cares deeply about people. It's part of our culture too.
From the first click
to the final post,
Together,
We're making design
And marketing.
Faster, easier,
And 100%
Keller Williams.
All right.
Keller Williams and
All right.
Canva.
This way. Okay, here we go. All right, so coming Q3 of this year, you will see the integration with Canva into Command and Keller Williams technology. So that is coming down the pike later this year, and you will have full Canva enterprise access. So your own upgraded Canva account included with those Keller Williams tools at zero cost. So you're going to have access to all of Canva's templates along with specific Keller Williams branded templates. So if you just want to plug and play and grab content that's designed by KW, you'll have access to all of that. You don't even have to create anything if you don't want to, because those templates will be in there for you. There's also going to be MLS integration. So super exciting for everybody as well. Seamlessly create and deploy marketing right from your listing pipeline with that integration with MLS. So pulling in listing photos to create listing flyers and social media posts will be all right there at your fingertips. There'll be enhanced support. So regular template drops and tools to keep your marketing sharp. So again, there's going to be those templates in there, but they're going to be constantly updating those as well, which is super important. And like I said, access to everything else that Canva has to offer. Interested in learning a little bit more about this integration, the FAQ is linked in that QR code on the screen if you want to learn more. But obviously, you guys, more to come later this year, and there will be obviously training opportunities and more information coming, but just something to get really excited about. You're designing your own marketing for your listings, for your brand, not having to switch between platforms. So really exciting stuff, you guys. And so more to come with our marketing team as well, and what we can offer you guys locally with some of our locally branded content. So again, just wanted to kind of announce that more locally here. Obviously, the announcement went out yesterday, but we'll be diving into that down the road. And then finally, I've been talking about this for about a month now, but this week we start our Beyond the Feed, our summer series for social media. So this week, it's all about meta business. So learning more insights into how to utilize meta business for Facebook and Instagram. So join us for that if you're interested in how to utilize it with both of those platforms. What's the benefit using Facebook, using Instagram? So join Bella and Madeline and myself on Thursday. And then we've got a few more trainings later in the month, and obviously more to come for July and August.
Sweet. All right, I'm going to run through training and events, and then I got to challenge your mindset on two things. So upcoming June training calendar is now live. Reminder, you can integrate your Google Calendar with our training and education calendar that has all the details to it. A few things to point out. In celebration of our United Way campaign, we were waiting until it was actually finally nice out in order to do this. But if you remember, last year we did a little bit of a competition in terms of the highest percentage in each location, highest percentage of contribution of agents towards our United Way campaign, which raised $32,000, was going to win a food truck. Hint, hint, even if you're in a different location and you want a free meal, we will be having that this week on the 4th from 12 to 1:30 in the alley, in celebration as a thank you for our United Way campaign in the North Shore office. So feel free to check it out. Mindset Mastery on Friday the 6th at the JCC over here in the North Shore. Janine will be helping you deep dive into her Mindset Mastery and helping you understand. Here's the coolest part. There was an indication to me that more of this was needed because we have roughly around 60 people who've registered. And that told me that this is something that people are focusing on right now in the height of the spring market. Ladies' Day Off is next week, Monday, June 9th, out in Richfield at Highlander Eagle Ski Club. Again, a variety of things and activities. You don't need to bring a co-broke in order to be there. We have 100+ people that are registered. Feel free to come out and spend the day at HH on Monday, June 9th. Jenny Klug will be doing APHW Zoom on Wednesday at 11 to understand the power of how do your clients choose their own contractor and work with APHW. And then here's a really simple solution. You want to do a client event that will cost you nothing. Remember, client events are all around the pre-event marketing and the post-event marketing. The event itself is simple and straightforward. And the thing is, as I've told you, we've broken 3 TVs at my parents' house since we've been living there. It's impossible to get rid of TVs, computers, and screens. So if you want to give a value add to your clients, invite them to the e-waste event on Saturday, June 28th at the Southwest office, where your clients can drop off unused electronics for them to be recycled. Very simple. Yes. I have a 3-year-old who throws, the question was, how did we break 3 TVs at my parents' house in the first week we were living there? I have a 3-year-old who only throws balls. And then after the 3rd TV, we decided not to replace the TVs until we had actually officially moved out. And so there's the background information. Mega Agent Camp, it's not Average Camp, it's Mega Camp, August 11th through the 14th. Prices go up again this week, so feel free to register. It's a great experience if you want to learn how to scale. All right, I have 2 major things I want to share with you to finish out this week's Tuesday team meeting. Back in February, I shared with you some strategic priorities that I was pushing on within the MLS, and I shared with you our rationale locally, okay? All around agent empowerment, consumer empowerment, and access to information. I'm not going to go deep dive into all this. We've met with the MLS. We've been pushing on them. And then the MLS had a change in leadership recently because Chris Carrillo left the Metro MLS. And so there's a little bit of a time of change on top of the fact that you might be seeing or paying attention to trade rags around various ideas around clear cooperation and how the industry should be approaching it. The challenge in it is, in the state of Wisconsin with 13 MLSs, there will be 13 differing viewpoints as to how we will be moving forward. On Sunday, I'm catching a 5 a.m. flight to Denver for a conference with the top 500 brokerages nationally to discuss this issue. And on Sunday and Monday, myself and Rick will be in Denver, which, by the way, he's now newly elected to the WRA board. And so the 2 of us are flying to Denver with the top. Yeah. We did it because, one, if you've ever dealt with Rick, he is a stickler and he's very black and white. And he's the perfect person to deal with the BS that comes with politics. But the 2 of us are flying to Denver Sunday, Monday to work on a lot of these issues around clear cooperation policies in a national scale. And I just wanted to remind the group as I head into these meetings, or we head into these meetings, here's our 4 strategic priorities locally. 1, we believe in individual agent IDX feeds. 2, we are clear supporters of the clear cooperation policy. I cannot fathom or understand why a private listing network would be beneficial to the consumer in any sort of way. Feel free to debate me. I'll put out that meme. You can come and change my mind. We fully believe in the syndication of delayed listings. And locally here within our MLS, I have a real problem around the 48-hour loophole rule and how people take advantage of that. And I would say that internally and externally, and I think that we all deserve a cadence of consistency as it relates to how we approach our listings. So I share that with you to say, these are some of the things that we work on in the background that you might not always see, feel, or touch as it relates to our influence or our market share within the market and how we're trying to drive the industry moving forward. And so I'll hopefully have more insight into what that looks like after we come back from Denver on Monday evening. Cool? All right. So I want to finish with this. Goals and your mental mindset. And it was interesting. I had heard an industry pundit recently talk about how people goal set in September and October, and then they never revisit their goals until the next September or October. But then the industry might change, and the industry is always evolving. And how are your goals evolving with where the industry is going, right? And it made me think of this concept in the model of resetting your goals and resetting your future. And are we doing that right now in June as it relates to the direction of where you're headed, to what you want your outcome to be on an annualized basis, on a 3-year basis, on a 5-year basis? Okay. And for those of you that have been around a while, in the fall, I always hammer you with this concept of the energy dial. The fall, you go into cleanup mode. Winter, you go into renewal, where separation is in the preparation, and yet we sit here in June during the spring and summer explosion. In southeastern Wisconsin, 65% of residential real estate transactions happen from March until September. 65%. Okay. A lot of you stumble into deals March through September. The great ones manufacture their business September through March. Okay. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about where are you in 2025? As it stands today, 50% of the year is complete, and yet based on the seasonality of our business and how we focus 90 days out, which would be August, and based on the seasonality and the cyclical nature of transactional volume, if we're thinking about we should be sitting here in August, you should be 76% of the way to your goals as it stands today. Okay? You should be 76% of the way to your goals. And my question to you is, what's your gap? Now, here's where I'm going to pivot on you. I had this whole thing around how I was going to hammer you about your goals, be introspective about your goals, and make you think about where you are relative to 76%. And then yesterday, I got a newsletter that totally changed my perspective that I thought you needed to hear. Okay? And on Monday mornings, I get a newsletter from Arthur Brooks. It's a newsletter. I don't read a lot of newsletters. I read his every Monday morning. It comes in around 7 a.m. And I share with you because in November of last year, I had an opportunity to hear him speak at the Art Museum. And for those of you who don't know who Arthur's a very published author. He's a social scientist and psychologist at Harvard Business School. And I read his book From Strength to Strength. And what I do know is if I tell you to read a book, 90% of you never read the book, but that's okay because I'm going to give you the cliff notes of some things you should be thinking about relative to your performance, your mindset, and your goals. Okay? And yesterday, in his Art and Science of Happiness, which comes on Monday mornings at 7 a.m., as I was thinking about how I was going to hammer you home and tell you all about your goals and reset and let's go and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, hold on, I need to pause. Because Arthur's newsletter changed my perspective on something. Okay? And I share with you this. The first line of all of his newsletters is always, hi, friend, which I love. He's, yeah. Hi, friend. But here I'm going to break down your newsletter because I know if I forwarded it to you, you probably wouldn't read it anyways. So I'll take the time while I have your attention in order for you to get you to think. Okay? And his newsletter yesterday was this. We're in a challenging times right now as it relates to mental mindsets and people struggling with finding more in the meaning of life. And he always starts his newsletters with the research in terms of what the science says. And in April of 2024, he actually conducted a Gallup and Walton survey where 38% of respondents aged 12 to 26 had received a formal diagnosis of anxiety or depression. 38%. Among those that have not received a diagnosis, more than 50% said they felt anxious. Now, the reason why I bring this up is anecdotally, I would say I feel this and see this with a lot of the associates we deal with every day, especially during the spring market or the concept of burnout. And I've challenged you in the past that I actually don't believe burnout to be a tangible thing. I think burnout is a lack of purpose or meaning. Okay? And the issues are symptoms of a deeper issue, he stated in his newsletter yesterday. It's a growing inability to define and understand life's deep meaning. Worse, the evidence suggests that people are not even looking for it, nor are we encouraging them to do so, which then creates a sense or feeling of emptiness. So the reason why people are struggling based on his hypothesis and synopsis, based on the research, is that people are unattached to their meaning or purpose in life, and the emptiness is where we're sitting and causing a lot of our mental health issues in society today. And so he brought up an interesting point. Screen time and internet usage. And this is science-backed. He said the dramatic increases are not the reason, but has made the problem worse. Okay? Why? And here's the science behind it. They interrupt the default mode network within your brain and how it's wired. It's the set of brain regions that become active when we are mentally at rest. And when you are mentally at rest, neuroscientists have found that these to be crucial for finding high-level meaning, memory, future, contemplation, and daydreaming. And so what he's basically saying to you is the screen time and internet usage isn't the reason for some of the mental health problems, but it's interrupting our abilities to have our minds at rest, which actually we need in order for the wiring to happen around finding high-level meaning, memory, future contemplation, and daydreaming. Something to think about. So what can you do? And he gave 2 solutions. 1, break down the problem by defining the meaning of life, which he says is a big, huge, complex question that most people are scared by. And he gave the meaning of life in terms of the way you can break it down. And he used these Harvard psychologists that have helped him develop this theory, is a combination of 3 elements: coherence, how events fit together; purpose, having goals and direction; and significance, a sense of the inherent value of one's existence. And the 3 elements break down a huge, complex question. What's life's meaning? How do your life events fit together? How do you have goals that give you direction? And how do you have a sense of inherent value of one's existence? The second piece of what you can do is reframing the problem. Put yourself not in the position of the asker, but of the asked. Put aside your need to find a formula for your own happiness. And here I thought was a fascinating question in which he asked, and he ended his newsletter with. Instead, see the world need for you, the world's need for you. What is the world's need for you? It gives you the ability to do more with your life and benefit the world. What is the world's needs of you? And how do you think about that in terms of your ability within your life in order to benefit the world? All of which requires deep introspective work, but the work itself is an exciting and productive adventure. And so as I sit here and I was thinking about, I'm going to hammer the troops, we're going to rally the troops. It's in June. We're thinking about 76% of the way there. And then this newsletter hit me, and thinking like Jeanine has 60 people that are going to Mindset Mastery on Friday, and the anxiety that people are feeling personally and professionally. I was like, damn, they need to hear Arthur's newsletter from Monday to give them a sense of purpose and meaning. And if you do the work to find coherence, purpose, and significance, it's amazing how your life will open up, your goals will become achievable, and you can continue to find the wind in your sails in order to keep moving forward. And I wanted to just totally interrupt what I thought I was going to do, because I had this newsletter drop in my mailbox yesterday, to challenge you as it relates to your mindset in terms of how the world sees you and the needs it has for you, as we sit here in June during the height of the spring market. So with that, it's a beautiful Tuesday. The world needs something of you. The question is how do you define it, and how do you find that purpose in order to keep moving forward? And if you want the newsletter, drop me a note and I'll send it to you. Guys, it's a beautiful day. Have a great day.